The Selfless Prince. In a kingdom far away, nestled in the heart of a lush, green valley, there lived a young prince named Siddhartha. Born into a life of luxury and privilege, Siddhartha was surrounded by the finest clothes, the most beautiful palaces, and every comfort one could imagine. Yet, despite his royal status and material wealth, he felt an emptiness in his heart. His life, although full of luxury, seemed distant from the suffering of the world outside the palace walls. One day, Siddhartha went for a walk outside the palace, curious to see the world beyond the gates. He had been shielded from the harsh realities of life by his father, the king, who wanted to keep him safe from sorrow and suffering. As Siddhartha walked through the village, he saw something that shook him deeply: an old, sick man begging for food, a young mother crying as she held a sick child in her arms, and a poor farmer working tirelessly under the hot sun, struggling to feed his family. For the first time in his life, Siddhartha truly understood the pain and suffering of the world. He returned to the palace, deeply troubled, but unable to shake the images of the suffering people he had seen. That night, he sat in his grand chamber, troubled by the disparity between his own life and the lives of the people outside. The next day, Siddhartha made a decision. He called for his ministers and royal advisors and announced that he was renouncing his royal title and wealth. "I will no longer live in the palace," he declared. "I will leave behind the comforts of royalty, for I have seen the suffering of the people, and I can no longer live a life of luxury while they endure hardship." His father, King Suddhodana, was horrified. "My son, you are the heir to the throne. The kingdom needs you. You cannot abandon your royal duties and responsibilities. You are the future of our kingdom." But Siddhartha was resolute. "I must find the true meaning of compassion," he said. "To rule over others without understanding their suffering is a life lived without true purpose. I will give up everything to serve those in need." With that, Siddhartha left the palace, giving up his fine clothes and jewelry, and dressed instead in simple clothes like those of the common people. He wandered through villages, offering help to the poor and the sick. He worked in the fields alongside farmers, carried water for the thirsty, and provided food for the hungry. He spent days in quiet meditation, reflecting on the suffering of others and the best ways he could help alleviate it. In one small village, Siddhartha met a woman named Amara, who was struggling to feed her children. She lived in a modest hut, and her husband had passed away years earlier. Amara worked tirelessly from dawn to dusk, but her efforts were never enough to provide for her family. Siddhartha, moved by her situation, offered to help. He worked beside her every day, harvesting crops, carrying water, and even repairing her home. Amara was initially skeptical. "Who are you, to help someone like me?" she asked. Siddhartha smiled gently and replied, "I am someone who has learned that true compassion lies not in wealth, but in sharing whatever we can with those who are in need." As days turned into weeks, Amara's life began to improve. Her children were healthier, the crops grew stronger, and her heart became filled with gratitude. Siddhartha continued to serve the villagers, offering not only physical help but also emotional support and guidance. He taught them to care for one another and to look beyond their own struggles to help others in need. One day, a traveling merchant came through the village. He noticed the changes in the people there, the way they smiled more, the way they worked together with greater unity. He was impressed and asked Amara, "What has brought such peace and happiness to this village?" Amara smiled and pointed to Siddhartha, who was helping another villager repair a fence. "It is the kindness and selflessness of this man. He came here with nothing, and yet he has transformed our lives. He gave up everything, not for power or wealth, but to help us. His compassion has brought us all together." The merchant, deeply moved by Amara's words, approached Siddhartha. "You are not like any man I have ever met," he said. "You have given up your kingdom, your wealth, and your comfort to serve others. What can I do to repay you for the peace you have brought to this village?" Siddhartha smiled, but his eyes were full of wisdom. "I seek no repayment. True service comes from the heart, and the reward is not in material gain, but in the joy of helping others. If you wish to repay me, share this kindness with others. Help those in need, as I have helped you." The merchant left the village, his heart changed, and in time, his acts of kindness began to spread far and wide, creating a ripple effect that touched the lives of many. Years passed, and Siddhartha, now known as the Selfless Prince, continued his mission of compassion. He traveled from village to village, teaching others that true happiness does not come from wealth, power, or status, but from the selfless act of serving others with love and kindness. One day, Siddhartha returned to his former kingdom, where his father, now elderly, welcomed him with open arms. "My son, you have returned," the king said with tears in his eyes. "But you are no longer the prince I once knew. You are something far greater. You have learned the true meaning of compassion." Siddhartha smiled at his father, who had aged greatly in his absence. "I have learned that true royalty lies not in titles or palaces, but in the ability to serve others without expectation. The people are my true family now. And so, Siddhartha lived the rest of his days in the service of others, teaching people that compassion is not something to be earned, but something that flows freely from the heart. He had given up his royal title not out of rebellion, but out of a deep understanding that true happiness comes from helping others and sharing in their struggles and triumphs. Moral of the story: true compassion is not found in titles, wealth, or status, but in selflessness and the desire to alleviate the suffering of others. The Selfless Prince teaches us that it is not what we have, but what we give, that defines the true meaning of compassion. By serving others without expectation and practicing kindness, we create a life of purpose, fulfillment, and true happiness. Thanks for watching. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to give it a like, share it with others who might benefit, and subscribe to the channel for more valuable content like this. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. See you in the next video.